All right, so we spent a couple days kind of preparing ourselves for completing the square. Today we're actually going to kind of put it in motion. So yeah, technically yesterday we did complete the square, but we didn't have to do anything as far as, shifting it around at all. So today's going to be more of what we'd actually see if we were solving a real quadratic by completing the square. So let's just kind of recap what we did yesterday. So for this first one, we would factor this as the quantity x plus 6 squared is equal to 0. And we said this one is kind of an exception because we don't have to do plus or minus for 0. So we only have one root because it's a perfect square trinomial equal to 0. So we just get x is negative 6. For the second one, we're going to factor this as the quantity x minus 7 squared is equal to 9. We take the square root of both sides. So that gives me x minus 7 equals plus or minus 3. So let's split it. X minus 7 equals 3. X minus 7 equals negative 3. So one root is that x is 10. And one root is that x is 4. And for this one, we said we need to use 2x, and then the square root of 25 is 5, and the symbol here is positive. So this is 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5, which I'm just going to rewrite as 2x plus 5 squared. We'll take the square root of both sides. So the square root of 1 is plus or minus 1. Sometimes with 1, since it's its own square root, we just put 1, but we know it could be plus or minus 1, which means we are going to get two roots, both fractional. So I get 2x plus 5 equals 1. I get 2x plus 5 equals negative 1. So I get 2x equals negative 4, so x is going to be negative 2. I'll bring that over here. And I get 2x equals negative 6, so x is negative 3. So those are my two roots. Right, and that's one if you want to just think about it, not to get you too off track here, but if I was doing this, I would subtract 1 on both sides, then divide by 4, and then you can factor it really easily. All right, so time for some notes. So these are the steps for completing the square. If you don't have these in your notes, probably you're going to have some trouble tonight or tomorrow, and definitely by next week, this is all going to be out the window. So let's go through this. If I was you, I'd pause it right now. I'd put this in my notes, and let's go through the steps, right? It says divide the coefficient of x by 2. So we talked about that the very first day. We didn't have to look at it yesterday, so let's go back to that. And then square it, right? That's how we found c. That was the first lesson. That is your desired constant. Add accordingly. All right, so now we need to basically manipulate the equation to make it look like the ones we had yesterday, or the ones we have here. All right, so I basically need to put this in motion here. I need to get that perfect square and the correct perfect square there. That's why we did a whole lesson the first day about finding c. That's why it says add accordingly. And then it says factor the left side. That's what we did yesterday. So step 1 is basically what we did the first day. Step 2 is what we did yesterday. And again, really, really good idea to have all this in your notes. Now let's take a look at this one. I don't care about this yet. I care about x squared minus 8x plus c. I care about finding c. So what we said on Monday was to divide it by 2 and square it. All right, so I want this to be this. Equals, I don't care. I don't know what's going to be on the other side. I can't help what's on the other side. All I can help is this. So let's go back to my original equation. My equation just has x squared minus 8x and then equals something. So I need x squared minus 8x to have this 16 on the same side. So I just add it, right? Remember, the good thing, guys, about solving equations is if you don't like what it looks like on one side, you can add or subtract or multiply or divide whatever you want. Now, we have to do that on the other side. So now I've got x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 64. Well, now we're happy. Now this looks exactly like these problems did, right? Where the left side is a perfect square trinomial. That's exactly what we want. Now I can factor this. X minus 4 times x minus 4, which is the quantity x minus 4 squared, is equal to 64. Now I can take the square root of both sides, which we just reviewed. I get x minus 4 equals plus minus 8. I'll get rid of this. So now I split it up, right? X minus 4 can be 8. It can also be negative 8. So one of my solutions is going to be 12. And one of my solutions is negative 4. Right? And guys, this is the way I want you doing these. Okay? Now, yes, if you were doing this a week ago, what would we do with this? We would subtract 48 on both sides. We'd factor as x minus 12 times x plus 4. We get x is 12 and x is negative 4. We're going to get the same answers, right? We're doing the same problem but in a different way. I want you to use completing the square. If you're not using completing the square, I'm going to assume that you use Photomath or one of the other apps or something. Okay, so make sure we're spending the entire week on this. And again, there are things it will help you with next year and the year after. Please make sure you are doing your homework by using the completing the square method. So same thing here. Right? I don't care about this. I'm going to say I want this to be a perfect square trinomial. So I need to take 10 divided by 2 and square the results. So I want to have 25 on my left side. All right, well, that's easy. I can just add 25 on both sides. That gives me x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 49. Well, I hopefully know that at this point I don't have to write out the factors. It's x plus 5 times itself. Now I can take the square root of both sides. I get x plus 5 equals plus or minus 7. I get x minus 5 equals 7. I get x minus 5 equals negative 7. I get x is 12. And I get x is negative 2. Right, so those are my roots. And again, if you want to check it, one way to check it is to substitute these values. Another one would be to go back and factor it, right? Subtract 24 on both sides, factor it as x minus 12 times x plus 2, and you get 12 and negative 2 that way. But we want to really focus on being able to do this using completing the square. All right, I'm going to do this one quickly because I have a few more to get to, and this is very similar to the last one. So when I take the coefficient of x and divide it by 2, I get negative 7. When I square that, I get positive 49. So I want this to be 49. So now I've got x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 64. So this becomes the quantity x minus 7 squared is equal to 64. Take the square root of both sides. I get x minus 7 equals plus minus 8. Split it up. X minus 7 equals positive 8. X minus 7 equals negative 8. So one of my roots will be 15. And the other one will be negative 1. And again, you want to check it, either go back and sub in or subtract 15 on both sides and factor it like we would do it normally. All right, so now is where it requires a little bit more thought as far as, when I gave you these rules and it says add accordingly. Really all we did here was we found the value of c and then we added it on both sides because there was no c. But more often than not, we're going to have a c, right? We're going to have a term that's already there. So essentially, there's going to be two ways that we can handle this, okay? One way we can handle it is if we really don't like the constant being there, we can move it at the beginning, okay? So I'm going to show you both methods. And then we can figure out what we need to add after that. I don't think that this should be necessary. I'm thinking most of us should be able to do this. But if this is something that you're really struggling with, and I'll explain when we get to it, then maybe go back and do what I have agreed. All right. So let's take a look at what we've got here, right? So I don't want a 3 here, right? 1, 3 is not a perfect square. And 2, even if it was, that wouldn't necessarily make it the right perfect square, right? If it was 25 or 100, I wouldn't be able to factor this. So I'm going to say, well, what do I want there? I don't want a 3. I'm going to say, well, I want to take negative 6 and divide it by 2. And I want to square the results. right? I want 9. So I've got 3, I want 9. I have to make it a 9, I add 6. So this is what I'm talking about. If that is something that's going to be too difficult for you to do, then you're better off moving the term at the beginning and saying, oh, well, I need to add 9. And it's going to put us in the same place, inevitably, right? But you don't have this decision to make of what exactly do I have to do. And a lot of people have trouble if this 3 right here, if this 3 was a negative 3, what do I add to negative 3 to get 9? Well, most of us can figure out that we're going to add 12. But some people have trouble with that, even with the calculator. So for a lot of us, not a lot of us, for some of us, maybe you do want to do this. Maybe you do want to move the term first, like I did here. Like I did to get from here to here. I added the 6 first. I added the negative 3 first, and then you can add the 9 on both sides. All right, either way, at this point, we're at the same equation. So this is the quantity x minus 3 squared is equal to 16. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I get x minus 3 equals plus or minus 4. So I get x minus 3 equals 4. I get x minus 3 equals negative 4. So one of my solutions is x equals 7. And one of my solutions is x is equal to negative 1. All right, so my solution set should be negative 1 comma 7. And again, you want to check it. You can sub these in or go back. And how would we do this normally? Well, I would subtract 10 on both sides. X squared minus 6x minus 7. We would factorize x minus 7 times x plus 1, and we get 7 and negative 1. But again, guys, I really want to emphasize, I want to see you do this by completing the square. All right, we'll take a look at one more, and then we'll get to our now try. All right, so again, I don't want that 3 there. What do I want there? Well, I want to take 8, and I want to divide it by 2, and I want to square the result. I want a 16. So I'm hoping that if we've got a 3 and we want a 16, we can all figure out to add 13 on both sides. And if not, move the 3 at the beginning. Add negative 3 at the beginning. That's fine. So I've got x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 25, which is going to give me the quantity x plus 4 squared. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. I get x plus 4. I get x plus 4 equals plus or minus 5, which tells me that x plus 4 can be 5. It tells me that x plus 4 can be negative 5, which tells me one of my roots is 1, and one of my roots is negative 9. And if I sub in 1, I get 1 plus 8 is 9 plus 3 is 12. If I sub in negative 9, I get 81 minus 72 is 9 plus 3 is 12. So they will both check. All right, and again, guys, I do want you to actually do the now tries here, right? So I want you to pause it here and then kind of come back and work on it on your own. So for the first one, I have to figure out what I want for my constant. So I take 8 and I divide it by 2 is 4. I square that, I want a 16. I don't have a 16, I have a 6. I need to add 10. So that gives me x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 25. I factor this as the quantity x plus 4 squared. When I take the square root of both sides, it gives me x plus 4 equals plus minus 5. I split it, and I get x plus 4 equals 5. And I get x plus 4 equals negative 5. So one of my roots is x is 1. And one of my roots is x is negative 9. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So I've got x squared minus 10x plus 2 is 13. So I take negative 10, divide by 2 is negative 5, squared is 25. So if I want this constant to be a 25, it's currently a 2. I'm going to add 23 on both sides. I'm going to bring that down here. Gives me x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 36. That's the quantity x minus 5 squared. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. I get x minus 5 equals plus minus 6. I get x minus 5 equals 6. I get x minus 5 equals negative 6. So I'm running out of space here. I'll add 5 on both sides. I get x is 11. I get x is negative 1. And for the last one, we got a negative number here for the first time. So it just requires a little bit more thought. And if you're going to have a problem with it, just add the 5 on both sides. But I'm going to say, what constant do I want there? I'm going to say negative 14 divided 2 is negative 7. Squared is 49. So I've got a negative 5. I need to make positive 49. So I need to add 49 and make up for that negative 5. So I'm going to add 54 on both sides. That's going to give me x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 100. I'm going to factor this as the quantity x minus 7 squared. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. That's going to give me x minus 7 equals plus or minus 10. I get x minus 7 equals 10. I get x minus 7 equals negative 10. And again, I'm running a little short on space, so I'll just add my 7. I get x equals 17 and x equals negative 3. All right, so again, guys, for the homework tonight, please make sure you're using completing the square. If you want to move the terms and factor to check it, that's a great idea. Make sure you're showing all the work and that you're using completing the square. And as always, shoot me any messages if you have any questions.